Every second, Americans order 4,000 items from Amazon. Every second. That is 350 million packages in a single day, moving through 175 warehouses the size of small towns. Now imagine that one morning, all of it stops. At 3:47 a.m. Eastern Time, Netflix freezes mid-episode. A Reddit user hits refresh and gets nothing. Airbnb hosts wake up to angry messages from guests locked out of smart locks that will not open. Bank apps stall. Airline check-in systems go dark. The lights on Ring cameras across America blink once and die. Half the internet has gone offline in less than 9 minutes. By 4:15 a.m., the reason becomes clear. Every server owned by one company has stopped responding. Every data center. Every service. Amazon has disappeared. Not filed for bankruptcy. Not paused. Vanished. To understand what this actually means, forget the boxes on your doorstep. That is the smallest part of what Amazon is. Amazon Web Services powers roughly 30% of the entire internet. When you check your bank balance on the Chase app, the request travels through AWS servers. When a nurse pulls up a patient's chart in a major hospital chain, that data lives on AWS. When the CIA runs its classified analytics, it runs on a special AWS government cloud built specifically for the intelligence community. When your child streams cartoons on Disney+, AWS delivers them. Netflix, Airbnb, Reddit, Zoom, Slack, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, ExxonMobil, all of them route critical infrastructure through Amazon's servers. 200 million Americans have Prime memberships. That is more than the number of Americans who vote. Amazon employs roughly 1.5 million people worldwide. Its logistics network handles an estimated 350 million individual packages in a single day. Its retail arm accounts for about 40% of every online purchase made in the United States. Now imagine all of that vanishing overnight. Day one, waking up in America looks different. Alexa devices, over 100 million of them installed in homes, sit silent. No morning briefing, no alarm response, no smart lights turning on. Ring cameras that monitored front doors and back patios show blank feeds. Homeowners scroll through app after app, trying to figure out what is broken. The apps themselves refuse to open. In Toledo, Ohio, a 73-year-old retired schoolteacher named Barbara Foster opens her Kindle to finish the mystery novel she had started the night before. The screen shows an error. Every book she has purchased over the last 15 years, 847 titles, is locked behind a message that will not disappear. She owned them. She had paid for them. Yet without the servers that verify her library, none of them will open. Panic spreads through small business owners across the country. Roughly 2 million sellers rely on Amazon as their primary marketplace. The majority of them small businesses run from garages, spare bedrooms, and rented warehouses. Their entire livelihood, their customer base, their inventory system, their payment processor, their advertising dashboard, all of it exists inside a company that no longer exists. By noon, the White House holds an emergency press briefing. The president confirms what everyone already suspects. Amazon is gone. Federal agencies that ran on AWS are scrambling to relocate data. The IRS website is down. Portions of the Department of Defense communication network have failed. Even the healthcare.gov exchange has gone dark. Wall Street opens to chaos. Shares in every company dependent on Amazon crater. The S&P 500 loses nearly 6% in the first hour of trading. Day 3, trucking companies that carried Amazon freight arrive at fulfillment centers to find them locked. Roughly 175 of these facilities exist across the United States, some the size of 80 football fields. Inside them sit an estimated $4 billion worth of undelivered inventory. Everything from Christmas gifts ordered weeks in advance to prescription medication. Third-party sellers who trusted Amazon with their inventory learn they cannot retrieve it. The warehouses are physically sealed. Legal disputes about ownership of that inventory will drag on for years. At 6:30 in the morning in a suburb of Wichita, Michael Torres walks into his daughter's bedroom and finds her crying. Emma is 12 years old and has type 1 diabetes. Her monthly shipment of Humalog insulin was supposed to arrive today, through Amazon Pharmacy. It will not. Whole Foods stores, over 500 of them, all owned by Amazon, face an impossible question. The company that managed their supply chain, their payroll, their inventory systems no longer exists. Store managers begin closing locations one by one. Fresh produce sits rotting on shelves that no employee is authorized to restock. Silence falls across Twitch. The streaming platform Amazon had acquired for nearly $1 billion is gone, and millions of streamers whose income came from viewers on that platform find themselves unemployed overnight. IMDb pulls offline. The MGM film library, thousands of movies including the entire James Bond franchise, is locked away in a legal void. Overseas, the shockwaves are just as brutal. Amazon operated in more than 20 countries, and small sellers in Germany, Japan, India, and the United Kingdom find themselves cut off from an American market that had been their primary source of revenue. In London, an artisan candle maker who had built a six-figure business on Amazon UK receives no orders for the first time in 9 years. Day 5 grocery delivery collapses across dozens of American cities. Amazon Fresh had captured a large share of urban delivery, particularly in Seattle, New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Elderly customers who had relied on weekly grocery deliveries find themselves stranded. Community volunteers begin organizing rides to physical supermarkets, but many supermarkets are now overwhelmed. Walmart parking lots overflow. Target sees a 30% surge in foot traffic. Kroger runs out of basic items: flour, milk, eggs, canned goods. In urban markets it had never been strong in. Prices begin climbing. Craft makers, book publishers, toy designers, independent electronics importers, small business owners who had run entire operations through Amazon Seller Central begin declaring bankruptcy in unprecedented numbers. Their inventory is trapped. Their sales channel is gone. Their customer lists were stored on Amazon servers. Pharmacies across the country face a quieter but more urgent crisis. Amazon Pharmacy had been distributing prescription medication to millions of Americans, particularly in rural areas with no nearby physical pharmacy. Diabetes, heart, and cancer patients on maintenance therapy suddenly need to find a new source. And existing pharmacies are not equipped to absorb the surge. Emergency rooms report a rise in visits from patients who have run out of medication. Federal agencies quietly admit that classified data belonging to the intelligence community, is now inaccessible. The AWS GovCloud region, designed specifically for the CIA and other agencies, has gone dark along with the rest of Amazon's infrastructure. What information exists only in that cloud, no one is willing to say publicly. Day 7 Prime Video subscribers, more than 200 million households globally, lose access to everything. The Lord of the Rings series that cost $1 billion to produce vanishes from screens overnight. Live NFL Thursday Night Football, whose broadcast rights Amazon had bought for over $1 billion per year, has no distributor. Publishing houses realize the full weight of what has happened. Amazon controlled roughly 70% of all ebook sales in the United States and a majority of all book sales overall. Authors who published exclusively through Kindle Direct Publishing, hundreds of thousands of them, no longer have a way to sell their books. Independent bookstores that had survived the last 20 years suddenly face a market they never expected to see again. Meanwhile, the FBI opens an investigation into whether critical American infrastructure was ever legally allowed to depend this heavily on a single private company. Congressional hearings are scheduled within 72 hours. Antitrust experts who had spent years arguing Amazon was too large now argue the opposite, that a broken Amazon has proven America needed a plan for exactly this kind of collapse and never built one. Day 10 manufacturing slows across sectors. Companies that had used AWS to coordinate global supply chains find their operations paralyzed. Ford briefly halts production at 3 plants. A Tennessee pharmaceutical facility loses temperature monitoring on a batch of vaccines because the monitoring system ran on Amazon servers. Stock markets around the world reflect the shock. The Nasdaq has lost nearly 15% since the disappearance. Companies that were considered untouchable, Netflix, Airbnb, Snap, Pinterest, Peloton, face existential questions about whether they can survive long enough to migrate infrastructure to competitors. Unemployment numbers begin to emerge. 1.5 million Amazon employees have lost their jobs directly. Estimates of indirect job losses through third-party sellers, delivery contractors, Whole Foods staff, Twitch streamers, and vendors climb past 4 million within 10 days. Schools across the country closed their online learning platforms. Roughly 40% of American school districts had built their digital classrooms on AWS-hosted services. Students who had turned in homework through cloud portals now have no way to submit anything. Teachers scramble to convert lessons back to paper. Parents in single-income households face impossible choices when children who had been learning remotely can no longer log in. Day 14 volatility on Wall Street reaches levels last seen during the 2008 financial crisis. The Federal Reserve holds an emergency meeting. Congress is recalled from summer recess to authorize an infrastructure emergency fund. The Treasury Department begins guaranteeing loans to Amazon's largest suppliers to prevent cascading bankruptcies. Invoking the Defense Production Act, the president orders Microsoft, Google, and Oracle to expand their cloud services to absorb displaced government workloads. Migration is possible in theory, but takes months in practice. Some agencies estimate their systems will not be fully operational again for a year. Consumer sentiment collapses. Retail spending drops 11% month over month. Recession appears in every major economic forecast published that week. In Phoenix, Rosa Delgado employs 6 people making hand-poured candles from a rented warehouse near the airport. She watches the padlock go on that warehouse this morning. Her inventory, 12,000 candles ready for the holiday season, sits inside a sealed Amazon fulfillment center in Nevada that she cannot enter. Her savings are gone. Her employees are gone. The bank account she had built for her daughter's college fund is now collateral against a loan she took to buy those candles. Multiply Rosa's story by roughly 2 million American sellers, and the human weight of what has happened begins to come into focus. Day 21. Physical retail experiences a strange renaissance. Barnes & Noble, once considered a dying company, reports its strongest single week of sales in nearly 2 decades. Best Buy sees a surge in demand for physical media. Blu-ray discs, external hard drives, home security systems that do not depend on cloud services. Independent hardware stores in small towns find themselves overwhelmed. Yet the mood is not celebration. It is fear. Americans are learning in real time how much of their daily life had been quietly consolidated inside a single company. Independent journalists uncover a document that raises the deepest question of all. According to internal memos leaked from a federal agency, more than 60% of American businesses had at least one critical operational dependency on Amazon services. Nobody in government had ever counted that number before. Nobody had understood the risk. Day 31. Month in, the economic damage exceeds $400 billion by conservative estimate. Some analysts believe the true number, once indirect losses are counted, will approach $1 trillion. Amazon's competitors have grown enormously. Microsoft's cloud business has expanded by roughly 40% in a single month. Walmart's e-commerce revenue has tripled. Shopify has become the primary platform for millions of small businesses that had never used it before. Retail across America has changed permanently. A patchwork of smaller players, some regional, some specialized, is beginning to fill the gap that Amazon once filled. It is messier. It is slower. It is, in many ways, more expensive for consumers. Yet a new question hangs over everything. The truth this reveals Amazon was never really a store. Amazon was infrastructure, the invisible skeleton beneath modern American economic life. Its delivery boxes were the visible tip of an iceberg whose true mass sat underneath. Cloud servers, data centers, third-party marketplace, streaming, networks, pharmacy, grocery chain, film studio, advertising platform, payment processor, and government contracts. None of it had a warning label. None of it appeared on any national security threat list. None of it was ever put to a vote. We had built a country that ran on a company. Most of us did not know it until the company vanished. The lesson here is not that Amazon is dangerous. The lesson is that concentration of critical infrastructure into any single point of failure creates a fragility no free market can price and no regulator can catch in time. Every civilization that has ever fallen did so because it built systems too big, too centralized, and too invisible to defend. America did not build Amazon. America moved inside it. When the walls came down, we discovered we had been living in a house we did not own.